about is the cloud computing, right? And this is like the fundamental knowledge you need when you're starting this journey, right? This is cloud training that we have like a long series we'll be doing, right, for this training so that we can get like the best of cloud computing. So for this training, it's not just going to be on the cloud side because I'm going to take you to like on-prem where we would work with servers, right? Would would do a lot. We'll build our labs and everything. But when you're learning the on-prem side and you're learning the cloud side, you can now understand how hybrid environments work and you can set up your own environment. So this is the learning part, right? What we'll be covering now will be cloud computing. And under cloud computing, we have what is cloud computing, shared responsibilities, cloud model, capital versus operational costing, cloud benefits, then cloud services type. So now that we're about to start this, let's just try to get this into business now. So this is the objective, right? So the first slide here, I'm not more of a slide guy, I'm more of like hands-on, but for the fact that this is fundamentals before we start going into M365 Propal and the rest of it and Azure, let's go with the slide, right? So from the slide, we can see um okay, from the slide, we can see that they said, what is cloud computing? And they can say cloud computing is the delivery of computing service over the internet, enabling fast innovation, flexible resource, and economics of scale. Yeah, this is a very good definition. For people that have always been in maybe my other training outside this, right? You would know that for some reason, I know definition is good, but I always try to like give people an idea of how they can see this whole stuff, how it works. Previously, when there was nothing like cloud, if you choose to start up an organization, right? If you're building, if you're starting a business, right? You have to know what is involved in that business, right? And when you understand what is involved in that business, you start thinking of the IT infrastructure you need for that business to go on very well. That those are the next things you'll be thinking about, right? When you get this infrastructure, probably you're getting your servers, you're getting your storage, you're setting up your network and everything. You have to pay for this thing before you start using them, right? You have to go buy them, even if you want to use 1 terabyte from your hard disks when you're starting your organization, but you know that in future you might need 10 TB. You're going to pay for 10 TB at once when you're starting the organization. You will go and buy the 10 TB from the beginning before you start doing anything, even your servers. So looking at this system, right, where you need to pay for this, pay for that, the cloud is now coming in with the idea that instead of you buying all these things, paying for all these things, managing all your infrastructure, your security, and all of it, the cloud comes in to simplify the process that you do not really need to pay for all these IT resources that are in demand, right? You don't really need to buy all these IT resources that are in demand. You can just pay for what you want. That means if I know I have a small organization now, and probably I'm looking at the future that my organization is going to get very big and all of that. I would just tell myself, let me pay for 1 terabyte for now. And if I end up needing 10 TB, I will just be upscaling the payment method and be getting what I'm using. I'll be paying for what I use instead of just buying the 1 TB, keeping it, and you may end up not even needing it. So the cloud now is coming to solve the problem of just, getting all these stuffs, trying to manage them, stuff you just want to use one time, you end up just getting all of it, and at the end, you're spending more for resources you're not using that much. So that's exactly what this definition is trying to explain. Now, this is the point where you need to pay attention to this definition. Now, the place you're going to pay attention in this definition is this. Please, if they ask you what is cloud computing, if you miss this part, I don't think you probably told you're actually communicating with the person what cloud computing is. Now, if they say what is cloud computing, you might just say, oh, IT resources that are on demand, right? On a pay-as-you-go service. You can just use different this thing. But if you don't put is being used over the internet, I think you've not really given that definition. So now I want to get one. Let me just come. I want to pull a website now. Just hold on. I'll be really quick about it. Okay, just I need to pull this from a website. I think they have like a very good definition for me. No, I must find this. Just give me a minute. Yeah, I'm almost there. Yes. Okay, fine. Um, Let me just do this. So, okay. Yeah, I just wanted to get to this website, right? Normally it always come up first. Okay, now this is another definition for um cloud computing, right? So if you look at this particular definition for cloud computing now, you would see it's not or it's the same thing they're talking about, right? But if you look at this, we say cloud computing is a delivery of computing services, right? Which include server, storage, database, networking, software, analytics, and intelligence over the internet. That's the cloud. To offer fast innovation, flexible resources, and economies of scale. So you typically pay only for this cloud services you use, right? Helping you lower your operating costs, running your infrastructure more efficiently, and scale as business needs change. So this is just exactly what I just explained right now. Because if you look at it now, you're just paying for what you use, and these resources, you're accessing them over the internet. So that's what you just need to understand about cloud computing. Just for the sake of maybe somebody's asking you a question like, oh, tell us, what do you know about cloud computing? This should be like a very straight one for you. Like you should know exactly where you're going to, and you should get like the right answer. So now I'm going to the next part of this slide, right? So if you look at the cloud computing resources that we are the computing service, you can see we have compute, network, storage. All this whole stuff will go in detail up when we are dealing with them. Yeah, Dan. Okay, I was thinking Dan was raising his hand. So now we have what we call
Sorry, it was an error.
okay. So we have what we call shared responsibility model, right? So I would have loved to explain this, but I don't want to explain this. I will come back. I need to explain SaaS, PaaS, IaaS, and on-prem. So let's just leave that. So the next thing we'll be talking about is types of cloud services, right? So when we are talking about these types of cloud, right? There's something that most time, for some reason, me doing my own personal research right from time, I see people get confused. Now, if somebody asks you, what are the deployment model for cloud computing, most people would probably get carried off like, what exactly is this person saying? Deployment model, right? If you hear deployment model, it's still is the same question like types of cloud services. So if you hear, just pay attention now. If you're hearing deployment model and they're also talking about types of cloud, they are saying the same thing. So we'll be talking about the types of cloud now. So there's always a definition, right, for all these, right? But now I just want to give like a very clear picture of what this is talking about. So let's imagine something. This is like one of the simplest scenario that you can always use to explain this. Now, I need to go somewhere. Probably I need to go to work, right? If I have to go to work, I have different ways I can go to work. I could choose to go downstairs of my apartment, turn on my engine, and drive to the office. That's a means of getting to work. Another way of getting to work, I could choose to say, oh, let me just take the public coach and I would get to the office also. It will take me to the office, right? But now, if you look at these different ways I'm I'm transporting myself to the office, you'll see that one of it is more, how will I put it, is more convenient for me in terms of, is my private car. I will just go sit down in it. Um, it's private. I can choose to, if maybe I'm someone that always throw my laptop and my phone anywhere, I can choose to throw my laptop one place, carry my jacket, hang it somewhere else. I will choose to keep it the way I want, right? Because it is my private car. And now also note that if I want to go to work with my private car, then I need to have a driver's license. I also need to, apart from having a driver's license, I need to know how to drive. Because if I don't know how to drive, how then am I going to get to work? Right? Now you can see that although I may feel more relaxed, okay in my own, it's more convenient for me in my own private car, but then there are some things that just needs to be in place. I need to still get buy gas for my car. I need to still even take care of maintenance of my car. But if I say I don't want to go through that stress, I can as well just stand up and say, okay, let me just get to the bus stop and the next bus that is there, I pay for it. Once the bus gets to my office, I'm down. I don't care how the driver is going to maintain his bus, how he's fueling it or putting gas in the bus. I don't care about that. I will just go in, use seats on the seat I'm paying for. If I choose to pay for double seats, I can sit on those double seats. And once it is time for me to get down, I will just get down from my from the public transport and I'm gone. Now you see that for me using the public transport, I'll pay less, right? But I cannot just have that comfort where I cannot just sit there and say, oh, my jacket, I'm hanging it here. Or as I'm stepping in, I'm just hanging stuff. I can't do that. That's a public bus. But if you look at this two, we have something in the middle of it. What of the person that is ordering for a ride, like Uber, or probably going to hire a ride? What's that person actually doing? For that person now, he's not the owner of the car, right? He doesn't think of the maintenance of the car, but he can still have a level of privacy in terms of, oh, he can just, he doesn't have other people probably sitting around him. If maybe you're hiring like an Uber, it's just the driver at the front, or probably you went to hire the car from the car vendor yourself. You know that you will just drive the car, you still have your privacy, but the car is not yours. If you need to put gas in the car, it's not your business. If you probably need any maintenance, the owner of the car have to fix that maintenance. Now I just explained like three means which we can transport ourselves. So now I want us to look at this slide so that we understand what I want to connect those explanation to what cloud types of cloud services is. So now we have the public and private cloud. Yeah. So the private cloud now, you can see organization create a cloud environment in their data center. So that means it is owned by an organization, right? They have data center, right? And they are the one managing the data center. Their information are stored there. It is a private cloud. They are not sharing any resources with anybody. So you can see organization is responsible for operating the services they provide. So they are the ones that are handling the services that they provide. Then they now say does not provide access to users outside the organization. So that's exactly what the private cloud is. And if we are talking about the private cloud, they are just for one business, right? And it can be managed on-prem or off-prem, off-premises by a third-party provider. So when I'm talking of on-prem, right, we have offices now, and those offices they have their data center where they keep their information. Even if you go to your office, probably they are using cloud service, they still have their own data center, they have their server room and all of it. That's their on-prem environment. So in case we hear on-prem, that's on-prem environment, right? So this private cloud can actually be on-prem, right? Or it can be managed by a service provider like Microsoft. So that's for this private cloud. So if you hear anybody talking about deployment model, types of cloud, so you just know that this is one of the types of cloud, private cloud, right? This should tell you, if you listen to the name, you know that this particular one is actually going to be the expensive one, right? You can't just go and start setting up a private cloud. So that's for this. So if you look at the next one, we have the public cloud, right? So for this public cloud, right, you can see this is more like you using the public bus to your office, right? So it is owned by cloud services or hosting provider, provides resources and services to multiple organizations and users. That means different organizations they go and just pay for what they want to use on the public cloud, and they get to use what they pay for. And the fact that they are paying for it, other people can still pay for those services. Now, we'll still talk about regions and data centers. So, what I'm saying now, you will connect it when we start talking about data centers, how availability and all of it. You will connect it very well. So, you'll see how this public cloud works, right? Because we have people coming to pay, use what they want, and other organizations too are also paying and using resources from that particular data center. So they say access via secure network connection, typically over the internet. So you can see this is always there. So this is for the public cloud. Is you using probably your public bus to the office, something like that. You don't get that kind of privacy you get when you're taking your own personal car. So we have the hybrid. Now this hybrid now, what this hybrid does, that's why I actually made mention about you probably hiring a car, right? So this hybrid now is a combination of both public and private cloud. So they say combines public and private cloud to allow application to run in the most appropriate location. So what this simply means now, when they say an organization is probably using like an hybrid cloud, they have their private cloud right now, but then when they have their private cloud, they say, okay, if we have this private cloud, we can keep some of this our data here, right? Okay, let me just say we have like 5 TB storage and we have a lot of information. So instead of us just saying in our private cloud, let's make it 7 TB, we can say, okay, no, let's keep like 3 TB on our private cloud, because these are very, very confidential data, or we don't just want them to leave this region. For some reason, we just want this particular information to be with us. Then for this other informations, let's just move them, let's just migrate them to a public cloud. So we'll probably migrate part of the information. Either we'll just probably keep some of them there, or we'll just create like a sync for a particular data and say, okay, let them just move to the public cloud. But this particular one, it is not leaving our organization data center. So that's exactly what where hybrid cloud comes in. So if you have any reason to be asked, like, what are the types of cloud? I think it should be very, very, very straightforward to you. You just tell them we have the private, the public, and the hybrid. How you remember them, just probably put that story in your head and see how you can connect it. But those are the three we have. But then there's one that's I don't know if it is here. People don't really talk about it. Yes, community cloud. So community cloud, you might see it, but how will I put it? You might not see it in a lot of material, but there's something called community cloud. It is one of them. So probably maybe if you have an interview or something and somebody is asking you that, you should, if you say these three, it's fine. But if you say four, it's best because you probably know more, right? So for community cloud, right, it is where group of organization they are using a private cloud. So we have group of organization that are sharing same resources from a private cloud. Now let me just put it like this. Let me see if I have paint white, or there's no need for bringing white this thing. Let me just look for a best this thing to define it. So let's assume I have a company, right? And I have this company and I have different departments in this company. I have my own private cloud, right? I could choose to say, okay, maybe three departments. We have like a cloud service for them where they will be sharing their own resources from that particular cloud service. So I could group like, oh, three departments. I'll say this particular service is for you. So that's how community cloud works. So it's a private cloud, and then we have different organizations that are sharing resources from that particular cloud service, right? And for the community cloud itself, most times it can be managed by the organization, or it can also be managed by a third party service provider. So that's for community cloud. So you might not see it like in documents, right, like this, but then I just want you to know we have something like that when we are talking about types of cloud. So now that we are done talking about the types of cloud, which is the model, deployment model, right? So just mark those two things I'm saying, please, like mark it very well. So the next thing we'll talk here is the comparison, right? So if you look at this, we have cloud model comparison. So if you're comparing them from the definition, right, you would see that from the explanation, you will see that the comparison will actually start making sense now. So for the public cloud, yeah, we have no capital expenditure to scale up. So I would explain what this is, cap and Opex, right? In the next this thing. Application can be quickly provisioned and deprovisioned. That's for this cloud. Organization pay only for what they use. So for private cloud, hardware must be purchased for startup and maintenance. Organization have complete control over resources and security. That means it's yours, full control. You're the owner. Then organization are responsible for hardware maintenance and updates. You're the owner. You would. So it's just like the car that I was talking about. You would have to go and purchase the car yourself so that you can see hardware. You purchase the car and you will be the one that will service your car. So you would also be the one controlling what is happening. So for this hybrid cloud, we have provide the most flexible because you can choose to balance it. We now have organization determine where to run the application. So I explain you can choose to say I need this particular information to be here, but this particular one. Most times, even like most government organization, you see this probably how they run their own system hybrid. So they move stuffs here, keep stuffs here. So it's still hybrid, right? We have organization controls security, compliance, or legal requirements. So this security, compliance, or legal requirement is still exactly what I'm saying. We can say this the documents they are highly classified, right? We don't want it to be here, we want it to be here, we want this particular one. You can actually arrange it the way you want in your organization, right? Based on your hybrid cloud. So that's exactly what it is. So you can see here they say cloud model comparison, right? So what I just said now is when you probably see yourself in a situation where they are asking you for um, types of cloud and somebody mistakenly say what is the deployment model, please don't get lost. Just um, just be very comfortable to know they are saying the same thing. So the next part of this slide now we have compare capex and opex, right? So the first one they say capital expenditure. For capital expenditure, they say the upfront spending of money on physical infrastructure. Then the second one is costs from capex have a value that reduce over time. So I will explain this. I just want to read it. Me, I'm more of the explanatory person. I know how to read, but most times when I want to tell people stuff, I I can as well just give them the document to read if, because everybody here can read, right? So the reason I'm actually opening this document is to explain it better for you so you can get exactly what the document is saying. So this second one is spend on products and services as needed. That's pay as you go, get billed immediately. So what this is saying now is for capital expenditure, it simply means you as a person, you're going to go and buy your servers, you're going to go and buy your storage, setting up your network in your switches, router, and all of that. When you're doing that, that's capital expenditure because you're paying upfront for it. Before you start using your server in your office, you've already gone to buy it. And before you use it, you're connecting them, setting them up. You've not started using it. You're setting everything up. So that's when you're using like on-prem environment. You're going to be using capital expenditure. Now you will see that you're paying upfront for your infrastructure. Then we now have cost from capex have a value that reduces over time. Now this part where they say have a value that reduces over time was for those that were in the last event I did. Is I gave example with an election that probably happens every 4 years, and you're using a device like a server to manage people, right? That just need to in the traffic just have to be like high for like maybe 5 or 3 days, and after then you're waiting for the next 4 years. You're already buying a device in the next 4 years, right? That device the server you actually got, the price value may actually go down. And the fact that the price value will be going down is the next time you want to conduct election, you will go to the server, they'll say, oh, this server does not meet the recommendation because we are going to be getting over 200 million votes and this server would not carry it. That means we need to buy another one. You just wasted money, kept the server, the value went down and you cannot still use it over time, right? So that's one of the problem with using on-prem and using capex. But if it's operational expenditure, right? You spend product and service, you spend on products and services as needed. That's pay as you go. So if I want to do normal work with people in my office, probably I'm the the election body, right? What I would do is I would just say we have people working for us. Time for election, we'll be like, okay, we need more resources now. Can you just go to the cloud service, increase the number of servers we need? They'll say, okay, when we increase this, we are paying like $1 per hour for this server. Okay, make it like five. So we increase it. After 5 days, we are done. Okay, bring it down. We don't need it again. You pay for what you're using, and after you're done using it, you're done. So that's for Opex. So now, if you look at this, please, if they ask you what Opex and Capex is, it is very straightforward. Like, it is straight to the point, and it is looking right. It's looking at both of us now. So this should not be a problem, right? We should be very good with all this. So all these things I'm saying, right? We we might not really go and say, oh, I'm setting up this, right? Capex or this, but it's just something you should know, right? Because in the long run, some people here might end up being consultants, right? Some people will even become solution architects. And as a solution architect, you know how to explain all this to the organization you're trying to work for. You know how to tell them, like, okay, this is how this works. So that's why it's good you start from this whole place. So the next part is consumption based model. So when you look at consumption based model, they say cloud services service providers operate on consumption based model, which means that end user only pay for the resources that they use. Whatever they use is what they pay for. So now you have better cost prediction. So what's the consumption model is still almost like the same thing I'm saying. You just get what you pay for what you're using, right? You don't, if you're not using it, there's no need to pay for it, right? Then we also have what do they call it? We have better cost prediction. So better cost prediction, it simply means if you're using Microsoft Azure now, there's a link I will also bring up while we are going. You can go and calculate how much you will spend. Like, you can know the amount you will spend if you're setting up a virtual machine with 250 gig SSD, 16 gig RAM, the processor. You already know what the processor will be. You know exactly what you want. You just go there, put it on the calculation, and you will see how much you will spend. And if probably you want to use it for a particular time frame, you will see an estimate of what your bill will be. And when you set that up, that's exactly what you'll be paying for. So you already know how you can predict your cost, right? So we now have prices for individual resources and services are provided. Yeah. So they have prices for them. So if you're using Azure, which we would still go and use, there's price for all of these services. Then billing is based on actual usage. So when you're also using some of the resources, like maybe you're creating your VM, if you're not using it, just shut it down. They won't charge you for it because your VM is shut down. So you pay based on how you use it. So if the machine is on, your bill start reading. But if you turn it off, so if we get to probably have like a trial tenant in Azure, we would try to manage our costs. If they say, okay, we are giving you free credit of $2,000 or probably 1,000, the idea is you can use that for like 1 year, which they say is for 1 year, depending on how you manage your resources. So this is where it falls under um, billing is based on usage. Yeah. So for now, I think that is all I have to say for this part. So before I go to the next one, right, I would just ask if maybe there is a question so I can know if I should continue.